Hello, this is Sarah. I'm going to read you Gloria's narrative today, which goes by this title. How are you living in the house I bought you? My grandmother questioned loudly on the occasion of my parents' anniversary. What house? I asked. My parents became pale as everyone turned to stare at them. After Grandma spoke a few words, everything in my family's lives changed. All right, let's leave. I'm Gloria, and when this whole disaster began, I was 29 years old. I am a manager at this large downtown trade firm. I've been there 7 years since I graduated from college. It's not glamorous, but the pay is good. I rent a one-bedroom apartment with a little kitchen and bathroom that has seen better days, but for the time being, it's mine. It's crucial for what follows that I inform you about my familial circumstances. Carol and David, my parents, are exceptional. They sat me down and gave me a lengthy speech about independence when I turned 18. Gloria, you are now an adult. It's time to find your own path in life. That was it. No funding for books, no assistance with college, nothing. I had to work things out on my own. My sister Emma, who is 4 years younger than me, receives the royal treatment in the meanwhile. Since her birth, her parents have been saving for her college education. They get her a new phone, new clothing, or whatever else she desires. It stings because the bias is so blatant. It was difficult in college. Sarah and Jessica, 2 other girls, lived with me in this awful flat. Roaches in the kitchen, a faulty furnace, and a landlord who never fixed anything made the house a complete mess. I bought my textbooks and paid my rent by working at a grocery shop. I could only afford ramen for supper on some evenings, so I would eat it for 3 days in a row. Ruth, my grandma, was the only one who was able to assist me. She lives in a different state and is my dad's mother. Grandma Ruth has a lot of stuff. She owns a large home and a fancy automobile because she made wise investments when she was younger. However, she has really severe hearing issues. She is unable to hear phone calls, even with the use of hearing aids. We text each other most of the time. She would text me every few months while I was at college to let me know that she was sending money, generally between $1,000 and $2,000. Every time, I would weep because it meant I could purchase the textbooks I needed rather than attempting to borrow them from other students, or I could eat actual food for a bit. I always wrote her lengthy notes of gratitude. You saved my life once more, Grandma. Without you, I'm not sure what I'd do. Thank you very much. She would reply with lovely texts expressing her pride in me and advising me to concentrate on my academics. I just required one job, as opposed to 2 or 3 like some other students, thanks to Grandma Ruth's assistance. In fact, I could go to my classes rather than working nonstop. I couldn't have graduated without her. Now, 7 years later, I'm working really hard and saving as much money as I can. I really want a place of my own, not a rental. I deprive myself of everything, including trips, expensive meals, and new clothing unless I really need them. I put every dime into my savings. We seldom ever speak, my family. Maybe once a month, Mom and Dad give you a call, generally to voice their complaints. Emma occasionally texts me, but primarily to boast about the latest purchase our parents have made for her. I see her social media postings about expensive dinners, beach vacations, and luxury goods. It must be pleasant. I regret not speaking with Grandma Ruth more. She is not in good health and is becoming older. However, I work 10-hour days, get home fatigued, and use the weekends to make up for all the things I missed during the week. When I can, I message her, but it's insufficient. As my 30th birthday approached, I made the decision to try something new. I sent Grandma Ruth an SMS inviting her to the party at my place. I was ecstatic about finally meeting her again after all these years, but she contacted me back to let me know she wouldn't be able to attend in person due to health issues. She apologized, but she had already given my parents my present, and they would deliver it to me. Though unhappy, I could understand. Her health is the most important thing. At last the day came. I invited Mike, Jennifer, and Lisa, some of my coworkers. Cake and pizza, nothing special. Naturally, Emma and my parents arrived last. As soon as they entered, they went about their daily business. This place is so small, Gloria, Mom said, glancing around as if she had a foul odor. Dad remarked, The lighting is terrible in here, as he narrowed his eyes at my overhead light. Emma didn't say hi, but collapsed on my couch and rolled her eyes. They gave me their presents, a book I had never read from Emma, a gift card to a restaurant I would never visit from Dad, and some inexpensive perfume from Mom. They obviously snatched these things at the last minute. Mom continued, "Oh, and here's your grandmother's gift," as she took a lovely vase out of a bag. It was crystal or something pricey, and it was extremely lovely. "She wanted you to have this." I responded, "Thanks," and accepted the vase. It felt valuable and was hefty. They were there for precisely half an hour. I kept track of it. Emma was on her phone much of the time. Dad was constantly looking at his watch as Mom griped about the gridlock. "Well, we should get going," Mom said abruptly. "We have things to do." Dad said, "Yeah, busy day," as he started to grab his jacket. And they were gone in an instant. We had a great day with my friends who remained till late, but I couldn't get over my disappointment. My family is this. I get this. I sat on my couch with the vase after everyone had gone and I had cleaned up. It was just lovely. I pulled out my phone and texted Grandma Ruth, saying thank you. After my birthday, a month passed, and I resumed my regular activities. On a Tuesday afternoon, I was working on some quarterly reports at my desk when my phone called. Cousin Rachel was displayed on the caller ID. It had been months since I last heard from her. "Hey, Rachel, what's up?" Anticipating some lighthearted family chit-chat, I replied. "I had to give you a call because of this, Gloria." "I'm genuinely surprised," she remarked. She sounded strange, like if she were unhappy about something. "Shocked about what?" "Regarding Emma purchasing a home. At her age, that is. How could she possibly afford it?" I paused my typing and fixed my gaze on my computer screen. "What are you talking about?" "The new home of Emma. Don't claim you're unaware of it." I felt sick to my stomach. "I don't know what you're talking about, Rachel." "Which house?" On the other end, there was stillness. Rachel's voice then became quieter. "Gosh, Gloria. You're not really sure, are you? 2 days ago, Emma had a housewarming celebration. With about 50 people present, it was enormous. The house is incredibly lovely, albeit not very large. Everyone was curious about your whereabouts." I had the impression that I had been hit in the stomach. "I wasn't invited. When I didn't see you there, I assumed that's what it was. However, your parents informed everyone that you're too introverted for loud parties and that you don't enjoy them. It's not even the worst part, though. Later, I overheard your mother speaking to my mother. She was implying that you were envious of Emma since she purchased a home at such an early age. She said you harbored resentment for it." A surge of wrath swept over me. Feeling envious? Bitter? The terrible home was unknown to me. I promise you, Rachel, I was unaware that Emma had purchased a home. No one informed me. Jesus, Gloria, that's so messed up. I sat there looking at my phone after I hung up. My sister, who is 25 years old, purchased a home. How? She works part-time at a coffee shop and recently graduated. From what source did she obtain the funds for a home? I gave Emma a direct call the next morning. On the third ring, she answered. "I've heard that you purchased a home, Emma. You invited me to the housewarming celebration, but why didn't you?" She chuckled. In fact, I laughed. "Gloria, hurry up. You're aware that you dislike parties. You are aware that's untrue. If you had invited me, I would have attended. Anyway, it isn't a huge problem." I inhaled deeply. "Where did you get the money to buy a house, Emma?" There was a little silence along the line. Then she spoke in a totally different tone. It became bitter and frigid. "All right, I got it from Mom and Dad. Besides, it's none of your concern. I must leave." And with that, she hung up. The following 3 months were agony. Emma continued to share images of her home on social media. "So grateful to my amazing parents for making this possible," she would add. It felt like a smack in the face with each post. While my parents were reportedly accumulating money to buy Emma a house, I recalled living in that awful apartment throughout my college years and eating ramen every night. Then another issue arose. It was almost the 35th anniversary of Mom and Dad's marriage. In fact, I was hoping to attend this one. I even purchased a pricey picture frame with their wedding pictures as a thoughtful gift for them. I believed it would have significance, even though it cost me about $200. Mom's Facebook page posted the notification, which I noticed. She had shared the date and location of the anniversary celebration, a classy restaurant in the heart of the city, on social media. I was surprised that they never gave me a call or sent me a direct invitation, but I assumed that they were simply too busy organizing things. Grandma Ruth texted me 3 days prior to the anniversary, saying, "I feel better now. I'm excited to celebrate the anniversary of David and Carol. It will be great to see you again, my love. We haven't had an opportunity to visit because I know you've been so busy at work." I was ecstatic. At last, an opportunity to reunite with Grandma Ruth and enjoy a family activity. However, my phone rang the following day. Mom was there. "Hello, Mom. I'm excited about the anniversary celebration. I've already purchased a present for Dad and you." "Gloria," she said in a tight, uneasy voice. "We must discuss Saturday. We've made up our minds not to invite you." I nearly dropped the phone. "What do you mean you don't want me to come? The number of seats has to be lowered. It's not really necessary for you to be there. You are welcome to visit our home at a later date and offer your congratulations. Why don't you want me there?" She had already hung up, though. In utter disbelief, I sat there with my phone in my hand. I would have stayed at home since I was harmed in the past. However, things were different this time. Grandma Ruth would be present. She was expecting me, and I hadn't seen her in years. My grandma was someone I couldn't allow my parents stop me from seeing. I sent their present via courier the next day, along with a message wishing them a happy anniversary. I then dressed up and headed to the restaurant on Saturday. There were around 40 individuals seated at tables in the dining area when I entered. Grandma Ruth had already arrived and was seated close to the front in a position of honor. She was dressed in a lovely blue dress and had good hair, but she appeared smaller than I recalled. My parents began to fear as soon as they saw me. Mom came running to me. "What are you doing here, Gloria?" "I told you not to come," she said in a desperate whisper. "Just go, please." "This is not the place or time," Dad continued, approaching from behind her. But then I was seen by Grandma Ruth. She speaks really loudly due to her hearing issues. "Oh, my lovely granddaughter, Gloria. I'm quite glad to see you." All through the dinner, she yelled. Everyone looked in our direction. Dad and Mom froze. "Gloria, please come sit next to me right now, Carol and David. It's been too long since I last saw this girl." My parents had no option but to watch with fake grins on their cheeks. I was led to Grandma Ruth's table by them. When they forced Emma to shift across the table so I could sit close to her grandma, Emma, who was seated on Grandma's other side, looked quite upset. Grandma Ruth squeezed my hand and murmured, "There's my girl. Now this is a proper family celebration." Everyone made an effort to seem normal as the dinner began, but I could sense the tension coming from my parents' table. They continued to look at Grandma Ruth and me anxiously. Emma was staring at me from the other side of the table as if my presence had destroyed her existence. My parents' long marriage was celebrated with toasts from the guests. Uncle Mike spoke of their generosity and compassion. They had always been excellent parents, Aunt Susan said. As I listened to these glowing remarks about my parents, I couldn't help but question if they were referring to the same Carol and David that I knew. Every several minutes, Grandma Ruth clasped my hand. Her words, "I'm so glad you're here, dear," were repeated. It's been too long. After all these years, I was finally seeing her in person, and I was loving being close to her. Her eyes were still brilliant and keen, but she appeared weaker than I recalled. She had on a stunning diamond necklace that I had never seen before. Grandma Ruth turned to me after the main dish was served, which was about midway through supper. "Gloria, how do you like living in the house I gave you for your 30th birthday?" The whole eatery became silent. Dead quiet, I mean. Everyone paused their meal and gazed at us. "Grandma, I don't know about any house," I stated as firmly as I could while leaning closer to her ear. "For my birthday, Mom and Dad gave me a lovely vase that you made." Grandma Ruth's expression completely transformed. She first appeared perplexed, then irate. "A vase? Which vase?" I heard 2 forks strike plates simultaneously at that precise instant. I noticed that both of my parents had dropped their silverware as I turned to look at them. White as sheets were their faces. In fact, Dad's hands were trembling. In an attempt to understand what was going on, every guest was glancing between my parents and Grandma Ruth. Grandma Ruth turned carefully to look at my parents. Her voice became louder yet. David, Carol, I want you to explain to me right now where the money went that I gave you to buy Gloria a house. There was an overwhelming hush in the diner. People's breathing was audible. Dad's voice cracked as he replied, Mom, perhaps we should talk about this in private. No, I'd want to know right now. 3 months ago, I offered you money to purchase Gloria a house. I was able to assist you with the realtor. I put Gloria's name on the house by signing all the paperwork. I also handed you the keys so you could present them to her on her birthday. Where's that house? With a loud scrape of his chair on the floor, Dad got up. He was trembling all over. Mom was sobbing into her serviette. Mom, we gave the house to Emma instead. The visitors' gasps could be heard. Someone put down their wine glass too firmly, and it clinked. What? Grandma's voice was so loud that I was afraid the windows would shatter. Emma suddenly jumped up from her chair. That house is mine. Mom and Dad gave it to me. I'm not giving it to anyone. Emma, sit down. Grandma Ruth shouted. That house was bought for Gloria with my money. I don't care. It's my house now. I've been living there for months. You can't just take it away from me. Emma was still standing by the table, crying and screaming that the house was hers. The whole restaurant was watching this unfold like it was a soap opera. I saw people taking out their phones, probably recording the whole thing. Grandma Ruth stood up slowly and motioned to my parents. David, Carol, come here right now. My parents looked at each other, then reluctantly walked over to where Grandma Ruth was standing. She pressed her hearing aid with her finger and leaned in close to them. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, which was unusual for her. I couldn't hear what she was saying to them, and neither could anyone else in the restaurant, but I could see my parents' faces getting paler and paler. Dad started nodding frantically. Mom put her hand over her mouth like she was going to be sick. After about 2 minutes of this quiet conversation, my parents walked back to their table. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. Dad's hands were still shaking, and Mom's makeup was completely ruined from crying. Dad stood up and addressed the room in a shaky voice. Everyone, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate you celebrating with us, but we need to end the party now. It's time for everyone to go home. The guests started gathering their things, whispering to each other about what they just witnessed. I heard fragments of conversations as people walked past our table. Did you hear what she said about a house? That poor girl. They gave her house to the sister. What kind of parents do that? Emma was still crying at the table, but now she wasn't screaming anymore. She just sat there with her head in her hands. I turned to Grandma Ruth. Would you like to come stay at my apartment tonight? Yes, dear. I don't want to stay with them after what they've done. I helped her gather her purse and coat. I'll call a courier to pick up your things from Mom and Dad's house. That would be perfect. We left the restaurant together while my parents were still trying to explain to the remaining guests why the party was ending so suddenly. Emma hadn't even looked up from the table. In my car, I called a courier service. I need someone to pick up a suitcase and some personal items from an address and bring them to my apartment. I gave them my parents' address and my apartment address. The items belong to Ruth Rutherford. Just tell them you're picking up Grandma Ruth's things for Gloria. When we got to my apartment, Grandma Ruth sat heavily on my couch. She looked exhausted. About an hour later, the courier arrived with Grandma Ruth's suitcase and a small bag of her medications. I tipped him and brought everything inside. There we go, Grandma. You have everything you need. Thank you, Gloria. You're such a good girl. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what your parents were really like. That evening, Grandma Ruth and I sat in my small living room and had the longest conversation we'd ever had. I told her everything about my life, and then we talked about what had happened tonight. I just don't understand how they thought they could hide this from you, I said. Did they really think you'd never find out they gave my house to Emma? Grandma Ruth sighed. I think they were hoping I wouldn't live long enough to find out. My health hasn't been good lately, and they knew it. They probably thought I'd either die soon or be too sick to travel and check on the house personally. The coldness in her voice shocked me. That's horrible. Your father sent me photos of your house on my phone. He told me you were so happy there, that you loved your new place. I believed him because I trusted him. I went in my kitchen and brought back the vase they'd given me for my birthday. This is what they gave me instead of house keys. Grandma Ruth took the vase and turned it over in her hands. We both started laughing at the absurdity of it. A vase instead of a house, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. This is beautiful, Gloria, but it's definitely not a house. After we stopped laughing, her expression got serious again. Gloria, I need to tell you what I said to your parents tonight. Your father has been using my personal bank account for years. Whenever they needed money for Emma's things for their own expenses, they would just take it. I trusted them with access because David is my son. My eyes widened. I didn't know that. Starting tomorrow, I'm cutting off all their access to my money. No more free withdrawals. No more financial support. I also told them I'm changing my will. My money was going to be split between all of you. Now it's all going to you. Your parents and Emma will get small amounts, just enough so they can't legally contest the will, but nothing more. We talked until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. When we finally went to bed, I felt closer to my grandmother than I ever had before. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my parents standing there, looking like they hadn't slept all night. Dad was holding a set of keys. These are for you, he said quietly, not making eye contact. The house keys. I took them without saying anything. The next day, I drove Grandma Ruth to the train station. She was going back home to finalize the changes to her will and bank accounts. After she left, I drove to my house. My actual house, the house that was supposed to be mine all along. With flower boxes beneath the windows and a little front yard, it was charming despite its modest size. Upon entering, I realized that my parents had obviously selected it with Emma, not me, in mind. There were pink touches in the kitchen. Emma's favorite hue, lavender, was used to paint the bedroom. But now it was mine. I changed all the locks and called a locksmith as my first action. I then provided notice of my residence to my landlord over the phone. I was relocating to my own residence. Emma arrived at my door a week later. She had a horrible appearance. She had been sobbing, her clothing were crumpled, and her hair was disheveled. Her words were, "Gloria, I need to talk to you. I detest having to live with my parents now. They're forcing me to work. They refuse to pay me for anything. And they're always battling about money. Are you able to let me reside here? Only until I'm able to stand again." I was shocked that she had the audacity to inquire. "No, Emma. I live here. You knew it wasn't truly yours when you had the opportunity to live here. Gloria, hurry up. We are sisters. Sisters are not robbed of one another. Sisters don't keep one another out of family gatherings. You made a decision." In her face, I shut the door. My parents contacted me nonstop for the following month. They repeatedly apologized and begged me to speak with Grandma Ruth about her refusal to amend her will. Mom sobbed, "Please, Gloria," during one call. We erred. We apologize. Ask your grandma to pardon us, please. Telling her, "I'm not doing that, you don't regret what you did. You apologize for being caught." I blocked their numbers and hung up. It's been 6 months since that awful anniversary meal. Since then, I haven't spoken to Emma or my parents. The drama, the favoritism, and the ongoing sense of inadequacy are not things I miss. Now my place is truly beginning to feel like home. I painted warm grays and gentle blues, colors I really like, over the lavender and pink. I purchased furniture that suits my taste rather than Emma's. In the backyard, I started a little vegetable garden. Above all, I've been going to see Grandma Ruth on a regular basis. I travel to her state every other weekend to spend time with her. We watch old movies, cook together, and discuss everything. She is educating me on her investments and the ways in which she has amassed fortune over the years. "You're the granddaughter I always hoped you'd be," she informed me last month. Honest, self-reliant, and intelligent. Emma was brought up by her parents to be pampered and entitled, but you somehow came out otherwise. Grandma Ruth's attorney phoned me last week to inform me that the new will was completed. The most of her estate will fall to me when she dies, which should be several years from now. Emma and my parents will each receive $5,000. That's all. The attorney clarified that it's sufficient to prevent them from claiming they were overlooked. Not enough, though, to make a difference. Though I'm no longer frantically conserving every dime, I still work at the trading firm. I can afford to take a trip, purchase clothing when I want them, and occasionally eat out. Life seems so different when you're not always concerned about money. I occasionally come across Emma's social media updates. She has returned to living with our parents and is employed in a retail job that she obviously despises. She writes resentful posts about unfair life and unappreciative family members. I have no sympathy for her. On occasion, my parents attempt to contact other family members in an attempt to persuade me to forget and forgive. My response is usually the same. When they took my house, they made their decision. By removing them from my life, I'm creating mine. I am perceived by some as being overly severe. When they say, they're your family, you should forgive them. However, I've discovered that a person's family does not provide them the right to treat you poorly. Family should be uplifting, not depressing. Instead of giving your accomplishments to someone else, they ought to celebrate them. Grandma Ruth, who genuinely cares about me and wants the best for me, is my first true family. Without my assistance, the others can manage their lives on their own. I'm genuinely pleased for the first time in my adult life. I have a connection with the one family member who truly loves me, I own my own house, and I am financially secure. I finally received what I was due after 30 years.